do
We
that.
just did. But that's just on the Zoom call. But yeah,
What
but
I-
no,
What I've got, she's got to leave at 9:30.
Sign up.
We'll do the center agenda and then go to the 644 now. That sound fair enough?
Yep. Hey, keep that low and pass it down.
Is that low and pass or down? Okay. I know there's several. Hey, Gavin, Pat Chapel Road. I'll let you answer on that. We have, Commissioners, do we have any previous business that needs to be conducted out of our November the 4th meeting? Hearing none, I'd like to reconvene that meeting and then immediately adjourn it. And call to order our November the 18th, 2021 meeting. Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll for those present, please?
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Scales. Present. Commissioner Knott. Here. Commissioner Tyson. Commissioner Stevens.
I am here. Thank you very much. We have a full agenda, and we're going to probably move some of these items around to facilitate the large number of people we have here and for their consideration. With that being said, Chris Willis, would you lead us in our invocation? And Theo Lawson, would you lead us in our pledge?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we come before you now and thank you for this day. Thank you for all those gathered here. We ask that you be with these that are conducting your business today and be with all these gathered here for their interest in their property cases and economic development cases and any other matters that come before this body today. We ask that you be with everyone here as they go about their day, and we ask all these things in your name.
Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our commission meeting November the 4th.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense the reading of the minutes and adopting this written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Now I would like, we don't have any presentations, I don't believe, that I can see. So next up is public hearings, but I would like to skip those public hearings and zoning cases for just a moment and go to the regular agenda. Commissioners, we had how many items? 35 items that were properly vetted in our pre-commission meeting on Tuesday. I understand that item number 28 should be pulled for a separate vote in consideration. The chair would appreciate a motion, 1 through 35 with, no.
I'll make that motion.
All right, have a motion that 1 through 35 with 28 pulled for separate consideration. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 28 is the zoning case
For Happy Lane.
for Happy Lane. The public hearing has been already occurred, and we're looking at for the consideration.
And I have just 2 questions for the developer if they're here.
Is the developer here? Perhaps outside?
Good morning. Hey, I had 2 questions for you guys.
Okay.
And actually probably one for you and one for staff. You talked about on Happy Lane building a number of homes. And those homes, do you have a timeline for when those homes would be built? I know you offered that to the community as a buffer between that and the backside of the facility.
Right.
What's the timing on the building of the homes?
I don't see how they could start building the homes for at least 12 months. You've got to go through the subdivision process, health department, septic tanks. So, I mean, it'd be at least a year.
Let me follow up with that too. You're asking to change it to commercial?
No, sir, we're asking for half of it to be commercial, the half that adjoins the existing facility, the storage facility. Then the other half that adjoins Happy Lane would be residential, R1.
And my follow-up is maybe for you and maybe also for staff dealing with stormwater. With all the stormwater issues we had here recently, was there a concern brought up in the planning and zoning meeting and either Michael or for you guys, and has that been addressed, or is there a greater concern for stormwater?
We did, there was a mention of it, and we said that we're going to comply with the county's regulations on stormwater. We have a storm drainage system in the existing facility that we're going to tie to, but first we'll have to detain underground so that pre-equal post.
And Commissioner, when they turn in the actual subdivision plats and plans, that's when they'll have to provide the pre-stormwater and post calculations, and the engineering staff will review all that.
What are the guidelines? I mean, is it a 100-year flood? What are the guidelines on stormwater as it would relate?
Traditionally in the county, it's a 25-year, 24-hour storm, and basically the requirement is that pre-equal post. Now, if you've got something that's downstream that could be damaged, then they can say, we want you to look at the 100-year storm. What happens during the 100-year storm?
And there are residences below.
Yeah, but our water won't be going toward them. Our water will go.
Topography allows it to go off in a different direction.
It will go down into the existing facility, And those pipes now run along the road directly into Shades Creek. So it's a lot of water in Shades Creek. A lot.
Okay, those are my only questions.
Okay. Thank you,
Commissioner
sir.
Ammons, there's also a stormwater agreement that these gentlemen will have to agree to, and those are approved by the county commission. That's part of the new regulations.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
are there any other questions in regards to this item, Derek, that we need to address?
No, you are really just voting on this today because it was a carryover item.
No, I get that part, but I'm saying being that the commissioner had a question seemingly has been answered. So I'm saying, is there anything else that we need to discuss or know about that seemingly, it sounds to me like it's been thoroughly thought through in terms of long-term and short-term. Sounds like to me, but unless I'm missing something.
I think it's been properly vetted at P&Z and at your last commission meeting. Again, with the concerns for any of the infrastructure or site development that will be reviewed when they submit the actual site plan, and a stormwater agreement will have to be approved by the county commission.
Okay.
And if I may, I'd only add that there are 8 conditions with this rezoning that the staff is asking, not just staff, P&Z is asking be approved with this rezoning. And those are listed in your staff report.
And,
Okay.
the concerns were also given at the commission meeting where we had the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ammons,
No.
Commissioner Knight,
Aye.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
No.
So it failed.
So it failed 2-2. All right. Next, we have a public hearing for a project that is piqued everyone's interest, and this is something that is going to be exciting. This is called Project 6449. And we need to have a public hearing on that particular item for 72 incentives, which are economic development incentives, that allows us to use public dollars to create economic development within Jefferson County. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Commissioner Ammons, who's worked very, very hard and with the cooperation of Commissioner Scales to get this project done. Thank you very much.
And a lot of other folks have had, and a lot of folks in the audience have had a lot to do with this as well, so it's not just credit here. Some of this is credit that goes to the previous commissioners that had the forethought to look and see that there's a need to buy land to make these kinds of attractions. And what a fantastic day it is to be able to talk about Project 6449. The biggest thing is that it's a $1.1 billion capital investment. It's the largest capital investment in Jefferson County history. 750 jobs, and the average wage of $25 an hour. What a perfect partner to be here. So if I can't speak highly enough about this, and we'll get to where we can announce the name here in a minute, but we need to go through the public hearing process and approval, and then we can hopefully, if we approve, announce the name and the partnership. And I really need to invoke certain people's names that were help and be part of this.
At this time, I would like to open a public hearing for 6449 LLC for amendment number 772 incentives, and for the consideration of a resolution and adoption of the project development agreement. Do I have someone that's representing the developer?
We have April Danielson and I'm sorry, I've already forgotten your name, from Wallace Jordan.
Okay.
We appreciate the opportunity to be here and get this project to this stage. The development agreement is in front of you, and appreciate Ms. Smith's assistance on that. And I do have April Danielson worked real hard on the agreement, my partner. She can answer any questions about the terms of the agreement. And we have the project manager here for the project. Any technical questions about what's going to happen as far as the physical construction or something, he is here as well.
That's great news. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to this particular project? Seeing none, the 772 public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, we
Move for
will
approval.
we have a motion and a second for approval. Mr. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Gannon?
Yes.
Commissioner Knott?
Aye.
Commissioner Scales?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. Thank you very much. Commissioner Ammons.
So congratulations, and congratulations to the citizens of Jefferson County for sending us down the path of I won't even say economic recovery, because we're doing very, very well. There are a number of folks that I want to make sure that we thank. Our partners with JCIDA, Ted Von Cannon and David Freeman, absolutely couldn't have done it without them and their partnership. The BBA, Jeff Trawick and Ron Kitchens at the BBA were fantastic partners, helping us do the analysis and get the RFI completed and help us down the path. Shauna Smith, our attorney, we call her our economic development attorney because she's always so good at it and always tells us no when we need to say no and yes when we need to say yes. And then my own staff with Danielle, Othell, and Keegan. We've worked very, very hard, and none of this, and we can't look at projecting without our own county staff, with Cal Markert, with Derek and Heather, and all the county staff that are going to be required to do so many things in reconstruction of a road and helping ingress and egress and permitting and everything. It is so vitally important that we all work together as a team, and we did, and we come up with great results when we do. So, commissioners, this will be announced, but I think it's a great time for us to make an announcement. And so, if
I'd like to throw out another name. David Carrington was here when we bought that, and he was spearheading that land purchase out there with JCIDA and him along with Jimmy. That's out in Jimmy's district. So they had foreseeability to go ahead and purchase this property. So I'd be remiss if we didn't.
Absolutely.
Give him a good
100%.
So,
Well,
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, too, I think that projects like this is what's going to make Jefferson County a very viable county. Anytime you're talking about economic development projects, you're looking at what kind of employment, employers, and most of all, the give back to the residents of Jefferson County. I think that today is a great day. I'm looking forward to more projects such as this forthcoming, but I think that what has been accomplished today is remarkable. So thank you.
Mr. Project Manager, what is your name? Brad Wachowski. He said he has a shovel in his truck.
That's great news.
Well, it's a great time for us to make the announcement that Smuckers is coming to Jefferson County and McCalla. And so this was picked specifically. You've seen them on the Today Show however many times. Wilford Brimley always, the Smuckers, and they who turned 100, and so they are a family-owned company. They are have been a great partner so far, and I look forward to having them. And it's very specific that why we have Uncrustables here, because this will be the focal point for making Uncrustables here in Jefferson County. And I was asked by a member of the press on Tuesday, because I said, we're under an NDA, I can't say a thing. He said, well, could you tell me if it's a sweet deal? And now I can tell you it's a sweet deal. Good deal. Thank you.
And I understand these Uncrustables have been hard to find of late. So,
Yeah.
you know, I have 2 grandsons, and they really like these. And I had a complaint from my daughter the other day that can't find those things. I'm like,
Hey, Ted, would you like to come up and say something? You've worked on this project as hard as we have. Would you like to come up and say anything about the process, and would anybody like an Uncrustable?
Well, Commissioners, it's truly an honor. You don't have a chance to have an opportunity to have a great company, a quality company with a great payroll that's going to add opportunities for people in Jefferson County. The best thing that I have about my job is that I know I go to bed, if we're successful and we do really good, we're going to put people in Jefferson County and the surrounding areas with opportunities to take care of their families. With jobs like this is what it's really all about. This is absolutely a pleasure, and it's a true honor to welcome a great company like Smuckers to Jefferson County. Anyhow, thank you.
do we have a timeline of when we might get something going and maybe completed, or we hadn't figured that out yet?
Groundwork starts next, the 29th, and they'll start moving dirt, April and the folks for the attorneys for Smuckers have done a great job, and we have timelines all up and down the line, and certain marks we need to meet, but I can't wait it because we're already seeing dirt move across the street, so to see them have dirt moving next door is going to be absolutely incredible. And evidently I've already guaranteed that January and February will be rain-free months.
It looks like production is scheduled for 2025.
Okay.
So a lot of ramp up in between.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Steve, congratulations to you and Othel and your team for all your work too, buddy.
You know, what this says is that we appreciate the confidence that you have in Jefferson County as your home for a $1.1 billion capital investment. It says a great deal of your confidence, and we will not let you down. Cal, that puts pressure on you, buddy. Infrastructure. When you don't have infrastructure in place, you make two sets of people mad. People that are moving in and the people that are moved in upon. Let's get together and let's work and make these folks happy, because I love some Smuckers. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners.
We look forward to the ribbon cutting, because we were told when we were officially told that we received the project, we were told that they put on a ribbon cutting like no other. So you guys have set the mark. We need to make sure that we maintain that.
And I'm sure we'll all
Absolutely
find out when this ribbon cutting takes place, and we can't wait to be there with you. It's going to be great. Thank you.
That sounds great. Let's move over to our zoning cases now. We have quite a large number of zoning cases, but we only have one that I believe that will create as any time constraint. Let's begin with zoning case Z21-022. Caleb Bishop, owner, requests to change the zoning from I3 to A1 to consolidate zoning properties for a residential parcel. I'd like to open a public hearing at this time for case Z21-0022. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to this? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
I move the item.
Second?
Item's been moved and seconded. There are 3 commissioners present, so I'd like to remind everyone it will take a unanimous vote to, for the approval of any of these zoning cases. With that being said, Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Amos?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, that case is approved. Next is Z210023. IMG LLC owner Robert Glenn requests a change in zoning from R2 residential, C3 commercial, I1 light industrial to remove split zoning events on a parcel in Pinson, Alabama. The P&Z recommendation is approval. I'd like to open a public hearing at this time for Z210023. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to this? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed.
Move the item.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Ms. DiLiberto.
Commissioner Amos?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, thank you very much. That zoning is approved. Next, we have Z210024, Salcedo Antonio Alcantar. Request a change, I think I did that. Request a change in zoning from C1 to R6 to bring in compliance with the existing residents. This time, I would like to open a public hearing for Z210024. Is there anyone in the audience speak in favor of or in opposition to this? Hearing and seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
Move the item.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. Ms. DiLiberto.
Commissioner Amos?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, thank you. That zoning has been approved. Next is Z210033 Charm South down in McCalla. Wants to go from an A1 zone to a C1 zone for a clothing store. Like to open a public hearing on Z210033. Is there anyone in the audience who would speak in favor of or in opposition to this?
I'm here. I can speak if I need to.
First of all, is there any opposition to it? Seeing none, I would say that
You're ahead so far.
yeah, you're good. So, open a public hearing. Anyone in opposition to this? Anyone in favor of? You raised your hand. We're good. Public hearing is now closed.
Move the item.
Second?
Item's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Okay. Next is Z210034. It's ANPR USA Inc. owner Tina Ramsey, agent, a change in zoning from C1, removing restrictive covenants from this property for our gas station. Is there anyone in the audience in favor? I'd like to open a public hearing at this time for Z210034. Is there anyone in the audience in favor of or in opposition to this particular item? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
I have a question.
Yes,
Is this the case where they just got the zoning to have the?
it is.
And now they want to go to liquor?
The liquor store, yes, sir.
Okay.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move it so we can vote on it.
We have a motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. DiLiberto, call the roll.
Commissioner Amos?
No.
Commissioner Knight?
No.
Commissioner Stevens?
No. This motion has now failed. Next is Z210036,
What about 3.5?
3.5 is the one that has all the people. I was gonna wait till
Oh, okay.
last.
Commissioner, may I interrupt? I misheard the last hearing. I was here in favor of that hearing, and I'm sorry. If I could speak, I would like to be able to speak, but
Vote's been taken.
I just didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, it was unanimously. You're talking about the convenience store?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I just didn't hear you. I didn't hear you, and I apologize. I was here to speak, and I could have.
and if you talk with developmental services, they can tell you about the time and what it would take to have it reconsidered, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is Z210036, Marilyn B. Rice, change zoning from an R1 to an A1 for a residential use to include a farm. Like to open a public hearing on Z210036. Is anyone in the audience in favor of or in opposition to this? Do you want to speak? Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this matter?
If who's the proponent?
Is it your farm, son? Come up to the microphone if you're going to speak.
I'm trying to buy the property, and then the current owner is also here, so we're both in approval, or hoping to approve.
Okay, there were some recommendations. You said you were not going to have any large animals on that property.
Correct. The first 100 yards, 100 feet buffer is what the contingents were, and we agreed.
Right, and I need for you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Cody Gilbert. Current address is 8208 Country Meadows, Dora, Alabama.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Now, I had a question. Is this an old subdivision that didn't get developed?
Correct. So it's a two-part subdivision. The first part got developed, and this was supposed to be the second portion of the subdivision, and it was in the early 2000s when it got developed, the first portion. So once 08 hit, it kind of slowed that process down, and then currently now they're just trying to sell out the current lots that haven't been sold in that first portion.
And you're buying the second portion?
Correct.
Does that surround the
So
neighborhood?
it doesn't surround it. You actually go through the subdivision, and then it's a pasture currently is the second portion. It's just an open field, and that's what I would be buying.
Are you going to put cattle out there?
That's not my plan, no, sir. I plan to build my forever home there.
Horses?
I mean, it's a possibility. I don't want to lie that, eventually there might be one horse, but I'm not planning on farming there. I farm in a different area.
I think there's some concern about the present residents, people that live there.
Yes, sir.
But I don't see anybody here to speak in opposition to it. But we did get some chatter about these people. I think they had some nice houses that they built in there.
Yes, sir.
And now they don't want to butt up to a farm. Now that's the concern.
Yeah, and it definitely wouldn't be a farm. This would be my forever home. If there ever was any livestock, it would be in the very back portion of the property. That would, meet this 100-foot or probably more than this 100-foot. And I plan on living there as well. And I've lived in the area my entire life, so I would work with the families, and I would make sure that they'd be my neighbors. So I would want them to be happy, to be honest.
Have you met with any of them?
So I know 2 or 3 of them, but I haven't met with them about this particular thing because sometimes I thought it's better just to see how it goes as far as the process that y'all put in place.
Well, sometimes it's better to communicate with your neighbors up front.
We have 3 people on this panel, and you have to sell all of us.
Yes, sir.
But I'm a little bit cautious about proceeding just because there are concerns in that. I don't know how many houses are in there.
I would say 10-ish or so,
Yeah.
probably around 10 homes. And
Commissioner, you want to move that we have our public hearing and perhaps give him an opportunity to talk with his neighbors and come back for a vote?
I would prefer that. I would.
It would be better if I meet with each one or try to knock on the doors and talk to each one.
That would probably be prudent, and to let them know what your plans are, as opposed, because the perception is all of a sudden these people paid $300,000 or $400,000 for a house, and now they're going to have smells coming in from that's the perception.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you could kind of maybe clean that up, I don't object to what you're doing here, but I do have a concern when people voice their opinion, and it was a letter that we received. So I would advise you to do that as opposed to let us pass this, and if you could do a little bit more work, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely can.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make one comment. Here's your map of the area. The subject property is the large square in the middle of that 100-foot buffer that separates Phase 1 from Phase 2, the applicant's property and the existing subdivision, would be that L-shaped parcel in the middle. And so that separates the existing subdivision from the applicant's property. There would be no cattle there. I believe he's indicated there may be one horse. I just wanted to point that out to you, and that's all I have to say.
Well,
There's no plan of one horse or any animals, to be honest. I'm just saying in the future, 10 years from now, if I have a son that wants a horse and I have 50 acres, I would definitely not. I don't know. I just want to make sure I'm honest as well. But I'll be honest with each neighbor as well, too.
Yeah, and that's fine. We appreciate it. Now, we don't anticipate any problems, but we're trying to set it up for you
Yes, sir.
to be a good neighbor and to have good neighbors for your forever home.
Yes, sir.
And that would be the key that we would be looking for here.
how do you access that parcel? Through that neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would chat with them.
I think what we have, you're buying it contingent on getting this changed, right?
Correct. And then this is Miss Marilyn. She owns the property, and then she actually has a son that lives in the property as well. So she knows everybody a lot better than I do.
If you would like to speak, please state your name and your address.
My name's Marilyn Rice. What else?
Your address?
9764 Trammell Road, Door, Alabama, 35062. What I was going to comment about, to the right of this property, looking at the square, it's already cattle everywhere. All right, you've got water, you've got the, what is it? The big water from Smith Lake comes through there already, through the back of that he will be buying, purchasing. So you've got to.
Do you live on the property?
No.
So the back part of that is in the flood zone?
Yes.
So
There's a creek that goes down the side of it.
Okay.
It's Mill Creek.
And your buffer zone you have, where would you put your house on?
Somewhere in between that buffer line and the water there.
Okay.
And I would build a house that's, I'm not saying it's the same specs as theirs, but comparable. I mean, I wouldn't be building, it wouldn't be something they would be ashamed to be a neighbor with, to be honest.
Right.
Now, let me ask this, and this may be for you, Cal. That neighborhood, is that a private road through there at this point in time? Since that
It is right now. It would be considered private because the county, I have not done the top seal.
Right.
It has not been turned over to the county.
Did you develop that front section?
Did I develop it? My ex-husband and I did.
Okay. Okay. So, but will he have to have an easement to get over to his property from either, I don't know if there's a neighborhood association associated with that
There's not an homeowners association. But if he needed an easement, I would give him one.
Yeah, he'll need.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I could, another property I might buy to give him one.
What about the subdivision? Or is that one we're gonna take over?
The intention is, yes, once they get the top seal down, we'll inspect it and bring it to you to accept into our maintenance system.
Is that subdivision fully developed, ma'am?
No. Okay, there'll be 2 lots added right there past 8460 due to the selling of, if I sell this, when I do the top seal. And there should be 12 or 13 lots.
Oh, heaven, I'm sorry.
12 or 13 additional lots.
Yes, that's in there.
Are you still in the process of developing it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We've just had 2 houses built recently. Homes.
Okay, well,
No, it crashed on me again. I was hoping I could pull it up on Google Earth, kind of get a bigger.
I do have a concern, see, the funny thing is, all these that live back there and want the buffers on from the cattle, but they'll pull my gates down that go to this property and ride 4-wheelers on it. And then I'm having to say, okay, I'm having to buy an extra insurance policy in case something happens.
well, I don't think that has anything to do with this. I get your concerns, but.
They're worried about a cow or a horse, but then they're not worried about what happens to me.
Okay. Thank you, both of you. Is there anyone else? Public hearing is now closed. Chair will entertain a motion. Carry it over, Joe.
I don't mind if you carry it over.
I'll move to carry it over then.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, have a motion to carry it over till the second meeting in December. Would that be sufficient time to check with your neighbor? And we'll vote on it at that time?
And then I would get that easement in place if we're gonna do that too, if that's okay.
I do have a quick question. When I talk to the neighbors, they have to send something in, or how would y'all know, I guess? Or should I ask them to do something?
They should have been notified.
But I guess, how would you know it?
We received notice by mail, yes. I would go talk with them and probably have a statement or a petition signed.
Yeah.
Stating that you're a welcome neighbor, and with the conditions of what we talked about in our zoning approval with conditions, and explain to them just what you explained to us, and I'm sure there'll be no problem.
And I don't want you to have any problems with those neighbors if there becomes a dispute about your ingress and egress, to that property, so.
How would that work if the county ends up owning that road, though?
Then it's a public road,
So,
and then there would be no problem.
I guess my question is, my buy is contingent on all that happening. It's changing over, she's gonna top it, put the cul-de-sacs, it's all one, they're doing that portion while I'm buying, or right before I buy, so would we even need to worry about an easement? Wouldn't it be?
That would be something that you would talk with developmental services,
Yeah.
and our roads and trans. Roads and trans would be the thing. Normally they put a surety down to make sure that all that's done, and I don't know whether that's been done in this case or not, but that's something that we will work through to make sure that's done.
Thank you.
Is that right, Cal?
That's right.
Okay. So we have a motion to and a second to carry it over to the second week in December.
Yeah.
Ms. Dillberg.
Commissioner Ammons?
Yes.
Commissioner Knott?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, so that is, the public hearing has been held, and the vote will be with consideration of having all of these other conditions in place and moving forward, and we certainly do appreciate it. Does that carry us to our sixth one? We have Z210035, Gilbert F. Douglas the third, and Cynthia Artis Nettle, owner. Gilbert Douglas, agent, requests a change in zoning from A1, which is agricultural, to R4, which is multifamily, for a 20-unit condominium development on a parcel that is located off of Patton Chapel Road, surrounded by the city of Hoover. Like to open a public hearing at this time, Z210035. You probably need to put that one up.
That's this one. This is the aerial for that case, yes, sir.
Yeah, and you may want to go ahead and describe it a little bit better than I did, since we have several opposed to it.
Okay. Is the architect Rob Walker here? I'm here. Can you come up, Rob? I'm going to pull up his elevation drawing and let him describe the project for you.
Yeah. No, it's already done.
Okay, go ahead. You can. Yes. This is just a handheld one if you like.
Oh, thank you.
It's actually a 21-unit project, just to clarify. The site's right off of Patton Chapel Road, right next to United Methodist Church. It's in a transitional zone, and I think it's zoned, classified that way in the land use plan. And it's a little under 2 acres. It's a small little lot that will be accessed off of a new road that's going in through off of Patton Chapel Road. It'll be a 3-story project with two different buildings. One's 9 units and the other one's 12. Both of them are 2-bedroom. All the units will be about 2-bedroom units. The target market will be kind of empty nesters, that situation. So, as far as things, nature of drainage, we'll take care of that with underground retention, low impact strategies, and that's such. So we'll meet all the requirements the Jefferson County will have for that. Certainly. Which one? Oh, property values. So our target range for all these units is about $180 a square foot, which will put it up in the upper $200 to $300 range, $1,000 range, and that's above what I observed in the surrounding neighborhoods, which is about $140 a square foot. So with this development, we're looking to, help raise property values in the areas. What is one of our goals.
Will you say that again? The square footage, the price per square foot.
Our target for the units is going to be about $180 a square foot. They're generally about 1,500 square feet, which puts them in the upper 200s. Some may be up close to 300. From what I've observed in the surrounding neighborhoods, the values of the properties are about $140 a square foot of the adjacent properties off of Patton.
How will you access these units?
From Patton Chapel Road?
Yes.
He's going to.
It was my understanding it was going to come from a side street.
Correct. See, right there. See where the circle is? Just to the left of that is what is a new road that's going to be constructed by the end of the year. Access road that's going back to another housing development in the back of the property.
Who is that being constructed by?
Another developer
Oh, okay.
that's doing the housing units. And our drive for our project will be off of that access road, so we don't have any direct access to Patton Chapel Road. From our
Traffic study?
We will do a traffic study, and see if whatever our traffic load impacts, if we need to do, a right turn lane only or those kind of nature.
If you came out of that access road and was taken left, what is your sight distance around that curve?
The sight distance, well, it's pretty flat. It's several hundred feet that comes around that curve. And right now, there's, I think, there's a turn lane in there already, so it's been widened for this area already.
A turn lane to the right?
Yes.
And that side distance has already been looked at, Commissioner, with the other road.
Okay.
The adjacent property is a church?
That's the property just to the north.
These are condominiums?
Yes.
Not apartments?
Correct.
These are to be purchased and not to be purchased to rent? Is it?
They're to be purchased and owned and lived in. There'll be a condo association that manages the whole thing and will govern that and prevent the, I guess, subletting from happening.
Okay. But HOA prevents those kind of.
Correct.
Those HOA rules prevent
Yes.
that kind of, if you choose to do that. How many square feet would each unit be? I don't know if I missed
About
that.
1,500 is what we're looking at.
My question, I guess, from this point forward is always stormwater. With the issues that we've been having throughout the county. I understand, with one of our previous ones that, it's a 25-year rain event for 24 hours. Is that correct? And I understand that you're going to have underwater and there are ponds on the property that could probably help that as well. If it's approved, I would ask that your engineers look at something bigger and better that is more of a 50 or 100 year, knowing that the more non-pervious surface that we have, it makes it more difficult for that water it goes a little bit faster, and it gets to our creeks a little bit faster, and Patton Creek is one of those that is a concern.
Our goal would be to have some low-impact strategies like impervious pavers. We'll have an underground retention system because the site is fairly small.
Right.
And we would look at something larger than the 25-year.
If it passes, I ask that you look at that and actually put that into practice because it's going to be a concern, I think, for all of us in the coming years. Especially if we have rain like we had this year.
I agree.
As we look at it, there's issues that we have to consider. One is the traffic impact.
Certainly.
Which I believe that you're working on. The other is the runoff. And this entire area has a 50-year flood cross drain and 25-year flood side drain for the roads. Am I correct? That's what the state requires. That's what I believe Hoover requires, and that's what the county requires. And I was told by our group that there would be no impact as far as this construction to the runoff. It would be as before. No increased runoff because of this development.
Yeah, we would put those strategies in place.
And
when
county manager.
if you approve the rezoning, they will be required to submit engineering drawings of exactly type of structure, the type of pavers, and you'll calculate what's there now, what is there now, trees or grass or?
A little bit of both.
So that'll be going from that, and just at this point, all that information is not required, but when it comes, we're very acutely aware that we're going to look at that very closely and make sure the runoff meets the standards. But at that time, and they've already noted it in the report, they're going to look real close, and they haven't let us know they plan on doing quite a bit of effort to maintain the runoff. But again, we'll get that when they submit the subdivision with actual engineering drawings that we'll have to say yes or no, that meets the standard. If it doesn't meet the standard, then it won't be approved.
This in the city limits of Hoover?
No. It adjoins them.
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I was wondering why we had it if it's Hoover.
Okay. Is there anyone, as we open the public hearing, is there anyone in the audience in favor of this particular item? I see the property owners there, they raise their hand. Mr. Architect, do you have anything else you'd like to say during the public hearing?
I'm good. I mean, if there's any questions that come later, I can answer those.
There may be some. We have several that are they're in opposition. We have the Brook family at 3526 Polo Park. Would you like to come address? Now, this is behind, am I correct? Polo Park is south and to the
Yes,
north.
that is correct. I'm Betsy Brooks, and I do live at 3526 Polo Park Court. I think you have before you a list of our concerns and the reasons that we are objecting. I also believe that you have some correspondence from residents of Polo Trace.
Right.
So, okay, thank you. So I am representing the Polo Park Court Homeowners Association, and then also some of those people in the Polo Trace. And I'm not going to read our letter to you since you've already read it, but I do want to say that we sort of listed our concerns that cause our objection in order of importance. And I think the most important is the number of cars that are going to be added to our neighborhoods. And Patton Chapel, as you know, because the county's already putting that turn lane there, is a very heavily traveled road. So with the new subdivision that is going to go behind our property that is 44 single-family homes, and then we add 21 more condominiums, you have to assume that you're going to have 2 cars per family. And so we're talking about adding 100 cars or 100-plus cars to an already very heavily traveled road. Another point is that curve is a very big curve. So when you put that access road in there, it concerns us that there's a blind curve there, and then there's going to be some safety issues. And so one of the questions we asked was there going to be a light put in there? So that's our first and foremost concern is the amount of traffic. And we feel like there certainly are secondary routes that we can take from Polo Park and Polo Court. However, when we're doing that, we're putting more traffic on Old Columbiana and all of those areas around the Green Valley Country Club, where Green Valley Elementary is, with carpool lines and walkers and that kind of thing. So, again, I think it's a safety issue there. The other concern we have is property values. we are concerned that multifamily home designation can open the door for a more transient population, one that does not own property and one that is not invested in our communities and neighborhoods and the property itself. Because you build condominiums and you want to sell them doesn't mean that they will. And so our fear is that when you open that door, then that you have possibilities of other things happening. And so that kind of summarizes item number 2. Our homes, I don't know if they do the $140 per square foot, but our homes are nice homes, and I just got my tax assessment, and I thought it was a pretty substantial amount of money. So I'm not sure that actually works, or if he considered my neighborhood or the neighborhood of Polo Trace. But we are concerned about property values. What happens if the condominiums affect the houses behind us and the single-family homes, because they're supposed to be equivalent to ours also, and then how does that affect our property? And so that is another concern that we have. Last but not least, you've got the aesthetics and the road noise that we have, and green space and that kind of thing. So those are the reasons that we are concerned about this kind of change in zoning. I understand that it's a prime location and it's undeveloped property, and I'm not foolish enough to think that undeveloped property is going to remain such. What I would like to find is an answer to some of these concerns that would allow our community, including that one, to grow and be successful and maintain its value and all that. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm trying to get in my mind where your neighborhood is in relation to this property.
Okay. We are, I believe, over here. You see those houses?
Yes, ma'am.
Left.
Yes.
Top left.
On the top left. That's where we are. Okay. So we're not adjacent to that property, but it doesn't mean that necessarily it's not going to affect our property.
How do you get in and out of your neighborhood? Is it
We
off
come
Patton
off
Chapel?
of Patton Chapel Road, yes, sir. For the most part. There is a back way off of Deodara, and that goes right by the Green Valley Elementary and the carpool and all of that. And we do that at Christmas time particularly because it's so heavily traveled right there.
Is there still, like, Otto's Bark and stuff, is that still there?
No, sir.
And Enterprise?
That was part of the property that was Doug's property that sold and is going to be, I believe, commercial property because it's on Old Columbiana.
Right.
And it's going to be part of that development that is going to be the single-family homes that back up to us.
Okay.
If I believe that's right.
Can I ask the architect? The traffic issue, I asked if the architect could speak to the potential of the traffic issue. I've driven it and I see the concern. Do you think there becomes, I mean, it's prospecting at this point since you don't have a traffic study, but are there any thoughts about that intersection?
Is relation to how it might work?
How it might work in the traffic and the potential for people coming around that curve, whether the line of sight is of concern or how you might handle that.
I think some of the.
Hey.
Excuse me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you need me to sit down?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I think some of the when you come around the curve, it's heavily wooded now, and I think line of sight will improve when we take some of those trees that are closer to the road down. If the traffic study yields that we need to put a right-in lane only, we'll do that just to make it easier to come in and out. But that intersection is probably not going to be a whole lot different than the intersection to their neighborhood, which is right down the street, and there's more than 100 rooftops coming out of that intersection. And, our load to this is probably less than their neighborhood at the end of the day.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
How far would this proposed intersection be from the existing intersection where these folks are coming in and out of their home? Perhaps that's a question for this gentleman over here. Are you developing part of this also?
Yes, sir. I'm with the group that's developing the subdivision.
Okay.
But they're using the same entrance. The subdivision and this condominium will.
They will use, and I guess my question was, is this entrance that you're building for the subdivision and the condominium, how far is it from the existing intersection that Ms. Brooke is using?
For Polo.
Okay, just scaling it off, I think it's probably 800-900 feet.
800 or 900 feet. I was looking to see, you don't have two right next to each other.
Yeah, it's pretty far down.
Yeah?
I would add the subdivision street, the internal street, that the condos will be accessed and was approved last year, and it's already been permitted and meets the site distance and all of that type stuff.
I think they're going to be under construction by the end of the year.
So you're good with that?
And that's something that'll be developed behind these condos?
Right.
Or proposed condos?
Right.
So there's already, okay.
It's already planned and up, and they're going to utilize a road that's already been approved.
That subdivision's right next, it's in Lot 1, top left corner, right next to these other smaller lots that you see up there.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this? Yes, sir. Would you please state your name and your address?
Yes. My name is Dick Connors, and I'm at 3539 Polo Park Court.
Yes, sir. Go ahead,
And
Mr. Connors.
just hearing the architect and what have you, Betsy really has encompassed what we've all talked about, but I'm not an engineer enough to know about retention, underground retention. But if that's just a 2-acre lot, and you've got parking, and you've got the condominiums, where do you put the retention pond, the underground retention? I don't understand how that works.
I can generally show you our strategy. If you go back to the other site plan, if you don't mind. So the site will have an underground retention system as the main element in which we will satisfy that requirement. And the site is generally sloping from the church down to Pat Chapel. And our idea would be there would be an underground system in this corner here probably, and we would most likely utilize the parking lot as well as impervious pavement and have an underground system there. So we'll have 2 or 3 areas that will initiate that strategy to sort of divert all that water so it doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, I just don't know how the
Well, there's a
capacity
series
works
of
for
pipes
that.
that are underground that hold that water, and until it slowly leaves the site as it should be. So it's nothing that you will ever see, but it's going to contain everything. So it's a series of large kind of pipes that are.
Well, that spot right there now has so many trees.
Yeah.
That I know that restricts a lot of the runoff. And you've got trees in the plan, which I felt was needed, but I just wasn't sure with all that pavement going in and whatever. But if you have impervious pavement, that will help. Certainly, but that's our concern, because we had that concern with the 44 homes that are going back there. And I don't know, to be perfectly honest, I don't know whether that flood or drainage plan for those 44 homes has ever been approved. We've never seen anything come back on that.
I do know, he can speak to it if he'd like, but that development was, I believe, designed for 55 homes.
Yeah,
and so the retention pond that they have there now and all the drainage is designed for 55 homes, and they're only going to put in 41.
Right.
So they have a larger system than they need that they're putting in versus what they're providing as far as the homes and whatnot. I
Right.
believe.
Yeah.
Is that 45, okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
But anyway, so it's designed larger than what's actually being installed.
Right.
So
just
Mr. Connors? Go.
Just to review, the underwater collection and detention is just to gather to a certain level and then slowly let it come out.
Yeah.
So
like you would normally have a site runoff, and so
right.
what the impact of what we're doing from the development is not even different than what it would be today. And so we're using the underground system to accomplish that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Connors, I can promise you that as much problems as we've had recently, we're going to look at the drainage and the runoff very, very closely, as well as the traffic. You know, as we look at this, you know, this is prime property, and you can't hinder someone from developing it. What we want to make sure is that, and this looks like a very responsible development, just to see, to make sure that it's congruent with the neighborhood, and that they are good neighbors. You know, I don't know whether you heard an earlier case, is that we want to make sure that communication is good between the neighbors, and that everyone is that it's a good fit for the neighborhood, and that's our job. Is there any? Do you have anything else?
One other point
yes, sir.
I wanted to bring up. When you come out of the extension of Frank Avenue that's going to run up back to the subdivision and also there, someone coming out of there and wanting to make a right-hand turn is not going to be a problem. But for people coming out of there from both subdivisions and want to make a left-hand, that's where we're concerned about the visual around the curve. Your comment about the fact that you put a right turn lane in there, that will help from that. But we really felt that a traffic signal should be considered there. Now, I'm not a traffic study engineer, but that's why we asked
so
for a
when
study.
we do the impact study, we'll work with the county to figure out if that's something that's needed.
Right.
And if it is, that we'll.
That's what we're asking for, because we don't.
And I think you mentioned removal of the trees that align the road right now. When you take those, that will create
So
more
when you come
better
around
sight
the corner,
lines.
you'll be able to see the intersection before you get there because of the trees. But
Coming both ways. I mean, traffic coming. I get that was a concern of mine as well, is not being able to see. But that makes sense. Knowing that area, that makes better sense.
Can you go back to the text? I don't know how to work your little.
Yeah. When this was presented way back, the height was a concern, and now this seemed like to me they've limited the height, and it's looking at the renderings, it looks very pleasing to the eye. So, and I see the road is coming in between the pond. Pretty telling here, Steve. See how it.
Mm-hmm. But that sight line there is good. So
There's already a street.
Yep. Okay.
I just wanted to point out, Frank Avenue already, a city street in Hoover already is an intersection at Patton Chapel, making left turns and right turns, so.
That's going to be 700 or 800 feet away. Is that what you said?
No, it's directly across from it.
Oh, across from it. I'm with you.
And that's true. You've got more of a blind spot coming from the north than coming up from the south.
Right.
That would indeed be a subject for a study for a life.
That's what we were requesting.
That's
that
right.
take place to make sure that's going to be safe.
Mr. Connors, we appreciate your comments today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
My subdivision is.
Roseanne Beasley, right? Come up, Ms. Beasley.
Yes, and I am 3408 Collingwood Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are further down toward Bluff Park. I would just simply ask, I love the way that you are listening very carefully to all of these things and thinking about the people who are already there. We already have problems with some drainage
Our homes are 60 years old, and there is no one who takes over that problem. The city of Hoover will not pay for that. If you have an easement and you have drainage on your property, then the homeowner themselves are responsible for that. So when I think about these large pipes that are going to be under the ground, that are going to hold water to keep it from flowing on down, I'm wondering who's responsible for that after it's built?
Homeowners Association.
Yeah, there is no homeowners association as I understand it.
I thought I heard there would be.
They're
It'll be
shaking.
condominium, it'll be a homeowner association that maintains the site.
Okay, so if there are problems with the underground drainage, that homeowners association will have to assume the responsibility financially.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Private property.
And if it impacts
state law.
us in any way, will they also have to bear any responsibility for people down? I would really like it if the three of you could drive Patton Chapel. You know, it has become, we go through Patton Chapel to get to the Galleria now. The preserve is down on one end. That road is being heavily trafficked because it's the only way you can get through there quickly. They're putting more houses there. We're going to get to a point that we are very congested. This is not helping. And the removal of trees will help, but the land is high. So unless they're going to bulldoze that land down, just the removal of trees is not going to take away that blind area. I travel it every day, and you can't see. You need to travel it yourselves and see. The other question I have is, I understand what these condominiums are going to be built for, and I understand that the cost of them is sort of prohibitive to people who don't have a lot of money. But are there rules that say you can't have children in these condominiums? Okay, are there rules that say that two families can't live in one condominium?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
I mean,
These are single-family residents.
single-family residence in a multifamily development, you can't put more than one family in a single residence.
Well, you say that, but in apartments that I've taught school for 30 years, and I know that it has happened. And so the children would be, if there were children there, they are not in Hoover schools. They will be in Jefferson County schools, which means that you would have to bus them or the parents would have to take them. Hoover no longer, I believe, allows you to pay in order to come to their schools because they're kind of crowded. So if there are children involved, and that happens to be my heart, if there are children involved in this and they are going to be sleeping on couches or crowding in with cousins who live or are just not going to be able to have easy access to a school or belong to a community, that's difficult for me. And I hope it's difficult for you. And I'd just like for you to, before you allow all of this to happen, I'm not against people moving in that area. I just want to make sure that you don't impact what is already there. We've had a drainage problem, and we had 6 homes in Chapel Heights, the little subdivision that I live in. 6 homes out of 45 who had flooded basements with this last big storm we had. And these storms are not going away. So we don't want to have more of that and then have the homeowners have to bear and we do not have an HOA. We don't want the homeowners to have to bear the brunt of all this, but they are, because neither cities nor counties are paying for this, as I understand it.
Well, and we have two different issues.
There are multiple issues.
There are, and the flooding issue, and we understand that. We're working with the city of Hoover to make sure that those are addressed, but your public dollars, your public funds cannot go on private property to clean out the easements. We will work with them to make sure that all of the public easements are clear and will maintain. And we're actually in open conversation with the city of Hoover right now and working to help alleviate those problems.
Well, I appreciate that. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would appreciate it if you really do some finding out. I mean, I don't understand association membership and whether they get together and make up their own rules, then we don't have a voice in those. And if they don't sell, then I would assume if I had money invested in that I would go down on the cost of selling those units. And their restrictions are not that they can't have 4 kids, a family of 4. I just don't want the children affected.
Well, I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I don't know that, I believe that's probably zoned for McAdory High School.
I don't know in the county.
And that's a long way. So I understand, I'm a former school teacher myself. And
then, because just because you tell parents that they can't do something doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Well, and I understand that, I surely do, and I appreciate that.
K1 or Bluff Park, 25 years.
Wow.
Loved every minute.
How far is your home from this particular development?
I'm not good with linear feet, but I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4 streets.
4 streets?
On the left.
Okay.
Going toward Bluff Park. And
But
it's
up
just,
toward Bluff Park, so, okay.
Yes. And so, I'm past Green Valley Baptist Church. 2nd
Okay.
Street past Green Valley Baptist Church, probably, But you really need to drive that. I honestly believe you need to drive it and pay attention to how many streets are coming into Patton Chapel. How many people are leaving all at one time to go to work, because everybody works today. And then figure out that spot. They go too fast, and when they come around and they can't see, and I'm talking about the people going toward 31, and these cars are going to be coming out of here, and it's a lot of cars in a small space. They're going to want to get out in a hurry. We need a traffic light.
We're very much aware, Commissioner. This is actually Commissioner Ammons, but I transitioned into the same area there on Patton Chapel Road. So he and I both travel it weekly. So we're very much aware of it, and with the construction that's going on out there right now, the slow construction that's going on right now, we're very much aware, and we want to keep all of the citizens in mind as we move forward with this.
Well, the Patton Chapel development, it has just become a source of amusement to most of us, and the chat lines just buzz.
I imagine so. I imagine
You
so.
guys have got your hands full there.
Is this the Krispy Kreme exit?
No, it's
one up.
One street, but you've got to turn on
Cross
in
from
order
Chris
that
Cadillac.
way. You'd go on Columbiana, and then the very next one is Krispy Kreme.
Yeah,
And
American
it
Family
already
Care on the
impacts
corner.
Green Valley. It's horrible when you get
Directly
to school.
across from Crest.
So it is a crowded place, and it's going to get more crowded, and that's what.
Yeah,
we're
I'd
worried
encourage
about.
everybody to move to North Jefferson County. We got plenty of space.
All right, does anyone else like to speak? Now, you're not on the list, so I need to add you.
Okay, I'm Jeannie Connors.
Speaking to the microphone, ma'am. So,
Can you hear me now? I'm Jeannie Connors.
Jeannie Connor,
I live at 3539 Polo Park Court.
you are on the list. Your husband spoke. Yeah. Okay, you're good.
My concern also is the traffic and safety, not only of adults, but especially of children. To the immediate right, I think you can see it on one of the other slides, is the Methodist Church. They have day classes going on all the time for children. So that's going to be another safety. I imagine it would be cars, but I don't know about the walking. But what is a concern is the Green Valley Elementary that's so close, and there will be walkers, there will be extra drivers there. And that really worries me, having this kind of a traffic situation there. Another thing, just as far as aesthetics, when you drive that road once a week, as you mentioned, I want you to look up, because the ground appears to be elevated. And as my friend mentioned, whether they're going to, cut it down so it's on level. Imagine three stories of building that are proposed, plus the peaked roof. So that's like 4 stories high. That doesn't blend in with the other neighborhoods that are around it. And I'm sure, knowing what I know of the Douglas family, they're going to do it well because they're that kind of people. But it just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the neighborhoods. So safety and view and property values are my concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your input. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Item has been moved and seconded. Want to understand that change is very difficult and sometimes scary. Understand that these folks have lived on this property for a long, long time, and I'm sure there's change for them also. That as we get up in age, things look different. Hoover looks a lot different than it used to. Patton Chapel Road looks a lot different than it used to. I live an exit south of that, and I have 14,000 cars pass my house every day that used to have 800 on it. So I understand, and if I could go back to 1950, I would, because those were a better and a safer time. But we have a motion on the floor and a second. Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ammons?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. And with that being said, we certainly do appreciate everyone's input. And as the Douglases transition through this, if you would please be mindful of your neighbors and work with them to have a good, congruent community that will be conducive to this change. We certainly do appreciate it. Is there any other business to come before the commission? We passed that, I think, didn't we? The agreement?
Yes.
Mike.
You have the public hearing for the conditional use permit.
Conditional use for the
Cell tower.
cell tower. We have one other item. Conditional use for a cell tower in down on the river by Smith's Camp. I can tell you that way. I can tell you about where it is, but I can't describe it on the zoning. So
Is Willard still alive? All right, public hearing?
yes. Do we have anything up on that?
Come on now.
Hey, Cal.
Yes, sir, 250
All right,
tower.
Michael, go ahead.
They're requesting a 250-foot tower on the property of the Warrior River Fire and Rescue site, and the fire station is actually located on the same property, just to the north. There's only 3 residences within 1,000 feet of the site, and this will provide coverage where there is currently a coverage gap for vehicular traffic.
Okay, I'd like to open a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience in favor of and opposition to this particular cell tower?
Yes, my name is Patton Hahn, 420 20th Street North in Birmingham. I'm an attorney at Baker Donaldson. I represent the applicant who is also here today. I don't have any comments to add beyond the questions you asked in the work session the other day. I did go on Google Maps and try to figure out, you asked me exactly where it was related to the river. It's approximately 1.5 miles away from the river. It's also approximately 1.5 miles from Valley Creek. I would hope that it's going to improve coverage exactly on those areas, but that's a pretty severe topography kind of area. I can't exactly say, but it will improve area in that kind of rural area. It will certainly improve coverage.
we're certainly looking for it to improve the emergency medical services communication in that area, which has been lacking for decades. So.
Absolutely. I go fishing in that area frequently, and you're in a lot of trouble if something goes wrong.
That's right. Thank you. Is there any other comments relating to this public hearing? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Move the item.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I have an item of new business I'd like to bring to the commission.
Have one item of new business.
Move for unanimous consent for immediate consideration for one item.
We have a motion and a second for one item of new business for consideration. Mr. Liberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Knight.
This is a resolution authorizing a revised through road agreement with the city of Irondale. And basically, we had a series of through roads through there, and we have given one of those roads back to Irondale, and that's Old Eads Road. They had a development they were going to do, and it was going to require the cutting of our road several times, and using our right-of-way to put in a sewer that's not our sewer. And so what we've agreed to is they just take the road back, and then they can do what they need to do. So I'd like to move the item.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passed unanimously, and there was no doubt. I would like to reconsider one item, if it's all right. Item number 17, which passed on the consent agenda. I would like to amend and add $1,000 to Commissioner Knight's resolution.
Which one is?
17, resolution community grant for the Fresh Air family. And I meant to do that earlier, and it just slipped my mind. We had so much going on. I like to match you, Joe.
Well, since you were on the prevailing side of the vote, then you can raise it, and I'll second it.
All right. It's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
We should have given Mr. Evans an opportunity
Yeah.
here now. I don't know.
Sure, why not?
It's what this is a good program that we've always done, and they come to us occasionally, and instead of resubmitting this and the same paperwork again, just add this to it, and it takes care of the entire problem. So I appreciate that, and thank you for the reconsideration. Anything else?
Yeah, Commissioner, I just want to make sure that in our excitement about our agreement with Smuckers, that the law requires that we read it exactly as the agreement is with the proper names. So the agreement is actually with 6449 LLC, an affiliate of J.M. Smuckers LLC. So that's the appropriate announcement that you.
That was the intent, and if the minutes will reflect that, Mr. DiLiberto.
We'll dot those I's and cross those T's, but we're going with Smuckers, man.
All right. Mr. Market. Well, it's been a pretty long meeting today. I appreciate everyone.
Say we need lunch.
Yeah.
You got it right there.
Untouchables.
We have it come in. We're doing great. Being no further business, this meeting is recessed until further notice.
Seriously, would anybody like an Uncrustable?
Yes.
Oh, also,